Hello, welcome to White Threads FlossTube number 94. Thank you so much for joining me today. There's a few things to update you on today, and I also wanted to show you some of my embroideries. So the first thing is that a place has opened up in my in-person class for this project, which is the Frisian Whitework Silk Sampler. The class is going to be here in Walcha, which is a little country town in New South Wales in Australia, at the end of November, the last weekend. And so because there's difficulties in travelling in Australia at the moment, I've had people from interstate that have pulled out. So this is probably your last chance to join the class unless someone pulls out for some other reason. So really you basically need to probably be in New South Wales to be able to come to this class. Because of government regulations, you'll need to be double vaccinated, and there are a few other things that you'll need to comply with all the general COVID regulations at the time, but you know, these change regularly anyway. But the main thing is there is one place available in the class, so I'll put a link to where you can book into that and find out more information about it. And if you're able to, I would love to see you in the class. It'd be great. What else is there? I've written myself a list. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you some of the designs that people have sent me photographs of. So in the last White Threads FlossTube video, I talked about, I think it was the last one, maybe it was the one before, I don't know. I talked about one of my designs, two of my designs that people had done in different colours. It was actually Patricia and or Trish, and she had worked some of my designs in different colour schemes, and so I asked if anyone else had any other designs of mine that they'd adapted, and so a couple of people sent me some photographs, so I'm going to insert them into the video so that you can have a look at them. The person that created this embroidery asked to remain uncredited, so I will respect that. This piece was adapted from my Frisian Whitework Silk Sampler. It's been adapted to fit the size of the notebook that the person had, and it features some of the bands, and some of them are adapted. They've used their own colour scheme because they wanted to use thread and fabric that was in their stash, and some of the motifs have been changed out of personal preference. The person's not particularly fond of birds, so the birds became a different motif instead. I think it's beautiful. I really like the way it works, and it's lovely to see a variation on my design. The next few pieces are by Lillian Koch from the Netherlands, and these are all pieces that are based on projects from my book Frisian Whitework. The first one here is a doorstop that she based on the Frisian Whitework Silk Sampler, and you can see that it uses a number of the bands from that, and she's adapted it to fit the shape of her square doorstop. She's used threads from her own stash, and it's lovely to see yet another interpretation of the colours of this sampler. The next project of Lillian's is one of the strawberries from the Frisian Whitework book, and she hasn't adapted the design itself for this. She's adapted the leaves and the bows, the ribbons on top, and I like seeing the different colours that people have chosen to use. The last work by Lillian is based on the Biscornu from Frisian Whitework, and it's pretty much my design. She's just added some extra curlicues, I think, into the corners to extend that further. And why not personalise things like that? If you think that they're going to work better your way, go right ahead. I have no problem. It's lovely to see when people take my designs and do what they want with them. It's lovely to see them when they just do them as is as well. But yeah, I just love to see people stitching my work. It's really nice to see. So if you have a picture of a piece that you've done of my work and you'd like to share it with me, with us, that would be lovely. Please send it to me. Thanks. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about today was needle cases. And I have made many needle cases in my time. They're just a lovely little project to be able to make, and I have a couple that I keep in regular use, and then I've got others that I've never actually used, mostly because they were just projects in books. So what will I start off with? Okay, there's this one here, which is one that I actually use, as you will see from when I open it up, and you'll see that there's lots and lots of needles and thread and stuff stuck in there. So this is a design that is a hardanger design. I'm going to come in close for this. Okay, finally it came into focus. So this is a hardanger design, but it's not your typical hardanger design. It is worked on linen. I think it's linen. Yeah, it looks like it's linen. But it has an overlay of some, it wasn't organza, chiffon. It's got a chiffon overlay. And so it's worked through the chiffon, which makes it to be a very interesting and somewhat difficult process, but I really love the effect of that. So that's one that I've made. I do have a pattern for that available. No, I don't have it available. I do have a pattern for it somewhere, and I really should make it available at some point. These things all take time though. Anyway, there's that. This is one that I designed for a class. The class never went ahead. And the idea of the class was different finishing techniques, and so this was a hard case needle case. So on the front it's got a little cross stitch design, and on the back it's got a little cross stitch design. The point of the class was not the cross stitch. The point of the class was making the actual needle case. So it's got a little clasp here at the end with a button, and that is a, oh, it's a rouleau loop, but it's not really. Because it's not quite on the bias. But anyway, it's got a loop that's made out of fabric, and then inside it's got 2 leaves of wool fabric. There's a pocket here that you could either, so just here, that you could either put needles in, or you could also slip your scissors in there if you were confident that they were not going to poke through the bottom and make a hole in that. And it's got an interesting sort of hinge. So this is mounted onto cardboard, so it's hard, and it's just a different way of doing it. So that was another needle case that I made. Now I did just show you a little sample of this one. This is a needle case that was in my Smoig book, and it's a scissor fob. Now the reason why I made this one was because when I was working the Smoig embroidery, you use both tapestry needles and chenille needles, and I needed to keep carrying both around with me. So I thought, well, I always have my scissors with me, so if I make a scissor fob that's actually got space for storing needles in it, then I can carry them with me always, because I'll always have my scissors with me. So that's how that one came about. That is just a little Smoig one. So that is in my Smoig book. This one is also in the Smoig book, and it has embroidery on the front and the back, and then it's got a chenille edging. You open it up and it's got 2 leaves of wool fabric on the inside, and then there's a button clasp for that as well. So that's worked in wool embroidery. Well, it's the embroidery is worked in wool, but it's got some little silk highlights, those little light bits there, and so they just pick up they catch the light really nicely. This one here is probably one of my most popular designs. This is my hardanger needle case that I have a pattern for. It's not out of any book. And this is one that I use all the time, as you can also tell by the number of needles and threads that are in there. So it's got 2 leaves. It's also got pocket there and a pocket here as well. So this is available as a pattern. I've done this design also as a bell pull, so made it longer than that, but just had it stretching down. And it was worked in white on white, and this is worked in colour. So that is a very popular project. Then this is just a very small needle case that I taught earlier this year. I think it was this year. Yeah, I think it was. One of the very few classes that I've actually managed to teach this year. And it was, it's a Smoig design. It's blank on the back, but you could easily repeat, say, the center section here as just a single motif. And on the inside, it's just got a wool blend fabric. So it's a very simple design in terms of the needle book. And then it's got the small stitching along the front, and probably I will make that available as a kit at some point. All these things take time. This is the needle case out of my Frisian Whitework book, and it opens up. It's got 3 sections for this. So on one end it's got the woolen fabric. You can see that I don't use this one because there's only 2 needles stuck in there. And then it's got pockets the whole way along as well, which you could put needle packets in, or your scissors, or anything else you like as well. And it just folds up, and then there's a button clasp on the end, and the button is a covered button that's been made to match the fabric on the inside of that as well. So they're just some, I think that's all the needle cases that I have that I've made myself. I don't think I've got any others either. Maybe there's some others. They were the ones that I could think of this morning. So I just wanted to show you a selection of needle cases. They're something that I really enjoy making, and maybe you do too. So some of those are out of some of my books, some of them are patterns, and some of them I haven't released yet, and I really should get around to doing that, shouldn't I? Yeah. So just a little bit of inspiration for you. Hope that was enjoyable. I know that many of you are still going through really difficult times with COVID. States in Australia have been in lockdown and have just come out of lockdown, and I know that other parts of the world cases are rising. So wherever you are and in whatever conditions that you are under, I hope you are well and safe and enjoying your embroidery. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this has brightened your day if it's been a dark spot, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.